I think that would be cute. Like showing up somewhere and being like covered in coffee and you're like, ugh.
Okay, I'm not gonna take that. Not on Drag It. Not on Drag It.
Oh, I would love that. Like going around and being like, ugh. And then everyone's like, oh, she's having a rough day. And then you're like, I'm starring in a rom-com. You know what I mean?
We're gonna move on.
And to you.
Guess who's back?
Hi.
It's the girls. It's the Swipe Talk girls.
Hello.
Here on our podcast, Swipe Talk where opposites attract. Did y'all miss us? It's just been
A
1
week.
And in some cases, y'all just watched our show on like Tuesday. And if you are only an auditory listener, well, first of all,
Yes.
hey bestie, we love you. Second of all, you can always see our visuals on YouTube and on Spotify. And if you are on YouTube, then you saw our like regular episode drop on Tuesday. So you probably saw us 2 days ago. But even still, didn't you miss us? Like, what the heck? We missed you. We're here today because we missed you so much.
Ew.
Sorry. It was going there. Isabella was just getting on me about how every time I make a joke, I end up being sexual.
I was talking about how I love to like do a bit and be like, I'm Mr. Mistopheles and I'm gonna make a train. And then Simone would be like, I'm just a little girl who's trapped on the train.
I've bent over and then my vagina lips fell out. Anyways, I am able to joke about these things because what? A fun fact about me is that I am not easily embarrassed. I will say anything. I will do a lot. It's hard for me to be embarrassed. And that brings up our topic for today, which is embarrassment.
She's nothing if not someone who loves a good transition.
Oh, I love a
That's
good
why we call her
transish.
Transish-tish. Oh, for those of you who may not know us, by the way, I'm Isabella.
And I'm Simone.
And we are the
we're
Swipe Talk girls. But yeah, you can check us out on all of our socials. We talk all things online dating. And you know what? Some people think online dating is embarrassing.
Yes, they do, which is so, I feel like, sorry, mama, if you're listening to this, get off your high horse. Like, what? Like, people that are like, being on apps is the most fucking, like, embarrassing chug. No, I don't think they call it chug, but, like, so embarrassing. And I'm like, what?
I think anything can be embarrassing if you let it be embarrassing.
true.
It's all
That's
about
true.
the mentality that you go into it. Having said that, for our first segment, we're going to go through some common embarrassing things and discuss whether or not we find them personally embarrassing. Because neither one of us are easily embarrassed per se.
We can be embarrassed, just not easily.
Of
and
course,
you know what?
we're
I think it
human.
might surprise you what would embarrass you.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it might. I think it might surprise you. You know what? It won't. I'm like, I
Okay.
think it might surprise you what we find embarrassing and what we don't. But at this point, they know that we are fucking freak weirdos. So
Right.
whatever.
Okay.
Okay.
First
the
one.
first one, you snapped on this one.
Thank you. This one really hits home because
It
I feel like
does.
everyone's been there and it sucks. Running with a backpack.
With the backpack on, more specifically, not
sure.
like carrying it. It's on your back.
I would argue even carrying it is also embarrassing because you know that like you're avoiding like putting it on. Like, and also like you'd have to run, hold it, hugging it to your chest, or like that's also embarrassing.
That is a visceral. As soon as I read it, I go, that is visceral.
Well, I have memories of like running to catch the school bus.
Oh,
and, like,
that's the one, and that's the one.
And like having like
and
a
it's like
big,
bouncing.
backpack. When it bounces, I think the bounce is what makes it.
It's like smacking you in the back of the head, and then like you're hot, so your back is sweating. When you take
You
it off,
get weighed down, your hair gets pulled back, yanked. I think
It's
running
awful.
most places, I think if you're not like going on a jog, can
It's
be embarrassing when you're
embarrassing.
running late.
running through the airport, humiliating. And here's the thing: when I see other people running through the
That's the thing.
airport,
I
I don't
don't
think
find
it's
it embarrassing,
embarrassing.
yeah.
But when I'm running through the airport,
Yes.
I'm like, I feel like everyone's like, shame, shame, shame. Like every time I pass a terminal,
But also running with a backpack.
way worse.
I don't own a backpack right now. I wonder if I don't own a backpack specifically
Because of this
I
trauma.
fear
Running,
because I fear
having to
running
run
one.
with it.
And you should have them because they're very good for your back. A chiropractor told me that those
Really?
side
I mean,
bags
it makes
are really
sense.
not good. Yeah.
Because it balances out the weight.
Yeah.
The more you know. So that's embarrassing.
And it's also interesting because I will look up action movies and there's a way to run in them that's not embarrassing if it's really strapped properly.
It's humiliating. Next, tripping in front of people. No, not embarrassed. Even in front of someone that I like, not embarrassed.
I think it can be. I think you can save it. And I think
You
it can
can
become
save
a
it.
really endearing moment.
Exactly.
I remember specifically in high school tripping and falling And
Jesus
honestly, I think kind of like falling when you're in a public place alone is slightly more embarrassing.
Ooh, not that one.
Because like I will trip and fall, and then immediately I look behind me because I'm like, oh, I
not
hope there's
looking
someone
behind
there.
me. I'm not looking behind me. I'm gonna act like it never happened.
Oh, that's your move? You're acting like it didn't happen?
When I'm alone.
I trip
When
and
I'm
fall,
alone.
and then I'm immediately looking behind me to see if someone saw so that I can go, oh my God, did you see that? But if it happens where I trip and fall and I turn around and there's no one behind me, that's when the embarrassment kind of kicks in. That's when I'm like, oh shoot. And then like no one's around that I could like be like, you guys, I'm owning it.
No, it's
Okay.
I can trip. I trip here
Yeah.
and there. I'm not like a super clumsy person, but
Yeah.
I do. I think because I'm not a clumsy person, I'm just like, oh shit, that sidewalk was raised, or that sidewalk caught me off guard, or like my shoes are like a little thick because I like to wear platforms. Like,
But I understand that sometimes it is embarrassing. Like imagine like you're holding a bunch of stuff and like you drop it all. Like that could be
embarrassing. I mean, as a server that was like carrying like drinks, sometimes I will never forget the times where I'm carrying an entire tray, someone will back into me, and then all of the drinks would just topple over and just fall.
But there's a way
Slowly.
to own it. There's a way to be
And
like,
I'm-
oh my God.
I don't really care. I'm not embarrassed.
Yeah.
I'm more like, oh my God, I have all of these tables and this just slowed me down so much. And if anything, I'm like,
interesting.
well, now the tables see that I'm going to take even
Right.
longer because someone just backed into me with all of your drinks. I'm so sorry.
Wow, and look at the two different approaches. So there are options of ways to not be embarrassed. There's the Simone approach of being like, that's not embarrassing. This is just a way of life. Or there's the Isabella approach of like, ha ha, that's such a clumsy, silly, like embarrassing thing to do. If we all laugh, it's not embarrassing.
Wait, also, I was in my first Pilates class.
Okay.
And I was like in the front row because I arrived 20 minutes early. I'm kind of a late girly.
Oh, I didn't know that about you. I love that. I
Yeah.
love a late girly.
The instructor told me when I first got there, she was like, there's really no front or back of the class because we go both ways, but being in the front row allows you to be like up front with the mirrors. And I was like, well, I ain't no hoe. Like, I don't care that this is my first time doing Pilates with these. Because you know, the Saturday morning Pilates girlies, them hoes
They're
been
serious.
in Pilates. They're serious.
serious.
But I'm like, I mean, well, shit, this is my first time Pilates. Like,
Right.
if they're mean to me, it says more about them than it says about me. So,
Right.
whatever. So,
Right.
I'm in the front of the mirrors.
Yeah.
If you've ever done Pilates,
Yeah.
shout out to anybody that's done Pilates. When you're on the Megaformer, there's like also like resistance bands too for your upper body. And I was trying to put them over my shoulders and then like sit up because of the tension. I go, woo, and then fall forward on the Megaformer. If you didn't see the move I just did, please
Right.
go watch the visuals.
Yeah, yeah,
Please
yeah,
go
yeah,
watch
yeah.
the visuals.
So what did you do?
I got back up and I kept going. I had no choice.
You didn't laugh? You didn't laugh with or
I was like,
acknowledge
ooh.
it?
Like I fell for it. I go, oof.
See,
And then I
that
go,
is
okay.
more embarrassing to me than like laughing about it.
No, because I'm not going to draw any attention to it because these heifers
No,
are
I want to draw attention
busting these
to
moves
it.
out.
I took a yoga class once, a hot yoga class. It was my 1st one. I got really into hot yoga a few years ago, like intense, like bad, to like a degree where I was going like twice a day, and I was like,
Oh,
this is
damn.
going to solve every problem in my life. It didn't. I was just avoiding everything in
Okay.
my life by
Okay.
going to hot yoga twice a day. But one of my first classes was so difficult, and I could not do it. And I was in the back row, and I just laughed the whole time. No one else laughed. I was
No.
by myself. I was like
Yes.
doing push-ups and doing 2 and then like hitting the ground and laughing. And you know what? I was having the time of my life.
And you know what? If that made you feel okay,
Yes.
then that's okay.
Well,
Do whatever you gotta do to make it
afterwards,
through.
the instructor came up to me and she was like, nobody ever laughs in these classes. Everybody takes it so seriously. Like, it was so much fun seeing you like have fun and like fuck up. I was
Aw.
like, thank you, Miss Girl.
Sister girl.
Do you want a kiss? And she was like, no. It's like, okay.
That's too much.
Also, run more really fast. Speaking of embarrassment, specifically to the waitressing story of you dropping a bunch of things, I have a friend of mine who has never waited in her life. She has never been a waitress.
Doesn't know that life.
She doesn't know that life. And she was going up to the register at this restaurant that we were at together. I'm sorry, it was like a little brunch place, whatever. She was going up to receive her food. And the man was like, make sure you take 2 trips. There's a lot of food here. And she was like, oh, no. Don't worry. I'm a waitress. I've got this.
So
Once
she
again,
lied.
She's not a waitress.
Okay, great.
So she takes, I think, the 3 plates on her arm,
That's really not smart.
walks out, immediately trips, drops the whole thing on the floor, gets up, comes to our table, and is like, we have to leave now. And I was like, what? And she told me the whole story and was like, we need to leave. She's like, I can't show my face around here anymore. We have to go. And that's another version of embarrassment. There are like flight. There are people that get embarrassed and like have to leave. And I love this friend. She's one of my favorites in the world. The slightest up, the slightest hint of embarrassment, she is gone. You turn around, she was never there. You're always gonna be like, what happened to that girl? Gone. And that's another, you know, if you're embarrassed, you can always leave. Okay, you can own it, laugh at it, or leave.
Or leave.
3 attempts to survive out here. Oh, the next one is waving at a stranger that was waving at someone else. That is humiliating.
That is humiliating.
That always sucks when that happens.
That is humiliating.
And like
I'm
it
sorry.
hurts your heart and you're like, why would I even think that?
Why would I ever think someone's waving at me? But then there have been, I'm gaslit because there are times when someone is waving at me because they're either trying to get my attention or trying to like be nice to me. And so I'll like blatantly ignore them. And they'll be like, excuse ma'am.
Well, I'll own it if someone was like waving at someone else. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought you were waving at me. I've been in instances where I'm waving and someone thinks that I'm waving at them. And I'm like, okay, now I am waving at you. Like, hi. Like, I'm like, okay, great. I don't know you. For sure.
No, I have taken a page out of your book with that one. Anytime I am actually embarrassed in public, I will say out loud, good. That is humiliating. I will make, if someone saw it, I will make eye contact with the person and I'll go, that is humiliating.
That would be good merch for us.
That would
Me and
be really
Simone
good
say
merch
that
with
is
us.
humiliating all the time.
All
we say
the time.
Slightly different. Simone, say it how you say it.
Either I'll go, that is humiliating. Or I'll be like, wow, that's humiliating.
You also go, that is humiliating. She like emphasize it and I'll go, God. I always go into the back end. I go, God, that is humiliating.
Or you'll be like, that is humiliating. And I'm like, no. Like, that's something you're not saying, right? Mind you, Isabella brought the phrase to me. And now it's just, we go back and forth. Slightest inconvenience,
we just like trade off.
That is humiliating.
Well, Simone and I have a few things we share. One is the word humiliating, and the other is we have one little brain cell that both of us hold on to half of it. And every now and then we'll both hold onto our half of it at the same time. It's really awesome.
You saw it in the New Year's video when Isabella was thinking of an animal and I guessed in the same animal group.
For sure. Or also in the inner child video, because you were talking about how you were thinking about it. So you guys have seen her. We should name her.
We should name her our brain
Comment
cell.
down below what you think we should name our shared brain cell.
We'll take all names into consideration.
Absolutely.
Sending a text to somebody by accident that was about them.
I've done that a lot of times.
I have never done that.
You've never done that?
I've never done that.
I've done it so many times. I've sent screenshots of people to that person. The worst is when you send screenshots of that conversation
right back to them. I would cease to exist.
But you know what? I've been the recipient of that a bunch of times too. We're only human.
Also, okay, I know there are iPhone watchers who are like, oh, and that's why, you know, with the new update, you can unsend a message. First of all, Apple needs to get it together because number one, when you unsend something, it sends them, like it says, this person unsent a message. That's the flaw number one. Number two, if you have a MacBook and an iPhone, Isabella taught me this the other day, you can send something and then unsend it from the iPhone, but if they open up their MacBook, it's still sent.
Yeah, if they haven't updated their computer, it'll still be there. Yeah. So don't rely on that.
Don't rely on it.
But I think at the end of the day, it's important to remember that we're all human beings, and you know, you just go, oh, so sorry. I was actually sending this to this person. Sorry, like I was talking about you.
The last thing I'll say on this one is that I did send a text message to my mother that was about a girl that I was pissed off about. It was back when I had like a teeny tiny like Text Plus phone, and I was texting underneath the table in class. I was in high school, and this phone, in order for me to send a text message, like I had to type in the phone number and then type the text. So I had to type 216-555-6767 and then proceed to send the text. So since I was texting underneath the table without looking down, my mind typed in the number mom's.
And what did you say?
It was my mother's. I said that hoe bag is trying to steal my man. I was 13 years old with a deeply Christian. I'm not. Don't.
I know you're right. You're texting your
Barb,
not my Barb. You're right.
There we go. Your Barb would have been like, "What hoe bag?"
Yeah, my mom literally had been like, "Send me a pic of her." Shoot, what did she say?
I realized I did it. Died inside, and I got home later, and I called her, and she goes, "So who's the hoe bag?" And I almost killed myself because she didn't mean it because she actually wanted to gossip. She meant it like, so you're just using inappropriate language like that, are you, young lady? It was like that. Anyways, I think it's funny. I started to laugh, haha. Hopefully someone out there can relate to that. Having a very strict
you
parent.
gotta own what you say, and
I
it always when things like that happen, it like really makes you reflect. Like, why am I speaking about this person? What am I saying about them? But hopefully you're only saying nice things. Then you could just be like, oh, I'm just telling my friend about how much I love you, so I'm sending you a picture of them where you look really pretty or something. Accidentally liking an old post of someone's online. I say own it. You be like, oh my god, I was just stalking you. It's not embarrassing. We all do it.
Yeah, and if a person notices something small like that, they have no life. Sorry. I don't mean that.
You can literally comment on the photo. If you do it by accident, literally comment, oh, so sorry, I was stalking you. My friends get easily embarrassed, and maybe it's because a lot of my friends, similar to me, have crippling anxiety. But a friend of mine was stalking a boy and was so far back in his Facebook. She was at like his mom's old profile picture. She accidentally liked it, and then she deleted her entire Facebook account. And I believe to this day, she has not gotten it back. She was just like, I can't fathom that, and deleted the entire account. Has not gone back, has not looked back. Different friend from the first story, though.
Okay. Farting in public, not embarrassed at all.
I think
especially if it's silent.
I would be embarrassed.
If it's silent, well, I'm never farting. I'm never gonna chance it. I can tell in my gut whether or not it's gonna be a silent one or if it's gonna be a loud one. And if it's gonna be silent, I'm gonna fart.
What if a loud fart escaped you?
I would act like it was someone else. I would go deplete. I would gaslight everyone around me. I would be like,
Okay, I will say I think it's really endearing when people fart and then they'll be like, whoops, sorry about that, because that's funny. I think it's so endearing when people own their embarrassing things. Accidentally playing music out loud when it's supposed to be through your headphones, that is a huge fear of mine. For some reason, I'm really embarrassed by the music I listen to. Like, even in the car, I'm like, if someone's listening to this, because I'm like, what? They're gonna hear me listening to the Legally Blonde soundtrack on repeat?
To
like,
Barbie
that's
Girl on repeat.
And like, especially when I'm wearing like a super cool outfit and like trying to be aloof. Like, you know those people that are like the like TikTok trend where they come up to you and they're like, hey, what are you listening to? And you show your camera. If someone came up to me and was like, hey, what are you listening to? I would run. I would literally run at the speed of light. Like, you don't get to know. Because I guarantee you it's embarrassing.
Yeah, this one doesn't do it for me. All the time, because I play things
because you
on
play
my Bluetooth.
Cool music, I bet.
It's not just, I mean, it could be podcasts. I don't really care.
Cool music's or podcasts. Yeah, there's nothing to be
You're
embarrassed
not going to shame me. If I walk into a store and I accidentally press play on like something I was listening
get
to
so
in the
embarrassed.
car,
It's like opera. It'll
care.
literally be opera. And I'll be like, oh my God. I'm not even kidding. It's happened before. And I'm like, and I turn red and I'm like, shoot.
Calling someone the wrong name.
Calling someone the wrong name is a little embarrassing, but I get so much more embarrassed when people call me the wrong name. That's so embarrassing to me. Like, to have to correct someone. Like, I've had people consistently call me the wrong name and having to be like, it's this name. I also had someone once be adamant. Be like, I don't want to say what the name was. Let's say it's Jolene. They're like, Jolene. And I'm like, oh, I'm not Jolene. And they're like, Jolene, you're crazy. And I'm like,
I'm not Jolene.
And then I'm like, am I Jolene?
I have to back this up, and I would love telling this story and embarrassing our boss. In the first time we ever met. No.
Sorry, our boss did call Simone Simoners the other day.
He did yesterday in our meeting.
And everyone let it go. Everyone just kept
Isabella
going in conversation. And then I was like,
Isabella dragged it.
Sorry, hold on 1 second. I just want to be clear that we all heard. Did you refer to my dear friend as Simoners? And he was like, yes, I did.
This was my first time ever meeting our boss to interview for Swipe Talk.
Yeah.
And he goes, hi, Nicole. It's so nice to meet you. And I go, hi, it's so nice to meet you too. Let's name him Ben. So nice to meet you too, Ben. Wow.
Let's name him Ben.
Anyways.
Spilling your drink all over yourself, I don't think that's embarrassing. I think that's really endearing. And like, I think that would be cute. Like, showing up somewhere and being like covered in coffee and you're like, oh.
Okay, I'm not going to take that. Not on Drag It. Not on Drag It.
Oh, I would love that. Like, going around and being like, ugh. And then everyone's like, oh, she's having a rough day. And then you're like, I'm starring in a rom-com. You know what I mean?
We're going to move on. Okay. Having to repeatedly ask someone to repeat themselves because you didn't hear it. At some point, I'm going to be like, no, I didn't say anything. Oh. Especially if it's like an offhanded comment and they're like, what? I'm like,
so embarrassing.
No, thank you. I'm good.
No, I think it's embarrassing to be like, what? I'm so sorry. What did you say? And then at a certain point, I'm just going to go,
yep.
It sucks.
Yep.
Because I don't
On
want to
both
inconvenience
sides.
the other person. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
no.
yeah. Anyway, so that was our segment of embarrassing or not. Let us know down below if you agree or disagree with any of our embarrassing takes, or if you have your own you want to toss into the ring of like what you believe is embarrassing. So now really fast, I'm just going to go through some facts about embarrassment that I would like for you guys to know about. Okay, so this is from the American Psychological Association. I collected
She's
this
a
research because
scientist.
once again, me and Google like
Besties.
this. Embarrassment, what is it? It serves a function of greasing social interactions. So basically it's something that's developed that like makes you feel like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, so that you don't repeat the interaction and like be severed from the group. You know what I mean? Like I think it's something that's developed so human beings can live together in harmony. And so like if you're doing something that other people are going to judge you for, you feel embarrassment to prevent you from doing it again so that you can
So
continue
that you're
being
not
in.
kicked out of the group.
Exactly.
It's a very caveman-esque.
It's a very caveman emotion. Zombie, zombie,
I will give you $1,000 if you can tell me the original artist of that song. $1,000.
You're a bitch.
Not the TikTok version of $1,000 in your hand.
$1,000.
1,000. I really wish we were filming.
I do too. Well, I am.
That is true. Please leave that.
Please, yeah.
And
you
anybody
should.
else, my $1,000 isn't up
That
for anybody
is
that
really
can guess
funny.
it. But
Okay, so people that experience embarrassment more tend to be more pro-social, which means that they are statistically kinder and more generous in a lab experiment where they were asked to share raffle tickets with a stranger. And then revealing embarrassment, which is what I do, which is like being like, haha, I'm so embarrassed, offers a social benefit. When expressing embarrassment, study participants found the person more trustworthy and wanted to affiliate with them more. So when people are embarrassed, they're like,
It's
oh, I like that.
vulnerability.
That's endearing. And then my last fact is that people are more likely to be embarrassed when they air in front of members of their own social group rather than in front of strangers. Because then they can be like, oh. But I think with that also, it depends on the closeness.
I think so too.
I'm never going to be embarrassed in front of Simone.
Me either.
But like maybe in front of like someone new that I'm like trying to impress. But I don't know. I think it depends, because if the stranger's hot, I'm going to be more embarrassed. But I guess it's easier to be like, well, I'm never going to see you again. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'd agree.
after all those facts about embarrassment, I am trying to spread the word that I think people should be embarrassed less, because it can be a lot more dangerous, because embarrassment can be dangerous in the way that some people are too embarrassed to buy condoms, which could then affect, you know, spreading STIs, unwanted pregnancies, or people are too embarrassed to go to the dentist because they haven't been in a bunch of years, too embarrassed
true.
because maybe they haven't dealt
That's true.
with their taxes and like they're too embarrassed to like show that they're
Don't say
irresponsible.
taxes on this podcast between us.
Honestly,
Don't
we
say
are going
that.
to literally bleep out any time the word tax is used, because
That's a
women
swear
shouldn't have
word.
to pay taxes. Little baby girls should not have to pay taxes. Or people getting, you know, colonoscopies, people getting prostate exams, people getting mammograms, people going to the gynecologist might be embarrassed. So I think
Right.
it's important in that regard to really destigmatize a lot of this so it's not felt as taboo or embarrassing, so that people can be on top of their shit and can own it and overcome embarrassment, because there's a lot more important things, which are oftentimes taking care of your health and yourself.
That is true. And you know what? That's cute, and that's right. I agree. And also another one that I want to add for the safety of women, like if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel like someone's following you, if you feel like anything like that, and you're like, I don't want to turn around because I don't want to
Yes.
embarrass them, I don't want to embarrass myself. Literally, all the self-defense like coaches and experts are like, no. You turn around, you make direct eye contact with them, and if they are making you that uncomfortable, you say, I see you, and you can go around me, or whatever the case, but don't shy away from it, because that's what they want.
Wow. And on a similar note, I've never heard of like directly addressing them before, but in the same thing of like being embarrassed, never be embarrassed to scream like, I don't feel safe, like get away from me, like I don't know you.
Rather safe than sorry.
Yes, if you're in a store and there's someone that's like outside that's uncomfortable, be like, hey, would you mind walking me to my car? I
Yes.
don't feel safe. And you might feel
Exactly.
silly and you might feel embarrassed.
Whatever.
That is so important that you bring that up, Simone. And like uncomfortable moments too, if like you don't want to kiss someone, but you're like, you don't want to be
Consent.
embarrassed and have an awkward
Be
moment.
embarrassed.
Be embarrassed.
Be embarrassed.
Maybe you don't want to embarrass
Quote, unquote.
them by rejecting them. Embarrassment is important to acknowledge so that we can.
Avoid doing things. Okay, so now this is why I'm saying I think that y'all are embarrassed for the wrong things. I know we joked about the backpack. We've talked about the tripping. No, I think that y'all should be embarrassed about bullying people. I think that y'all should be embarrassed about shaming other people.
Yes, of course.
But it's gotten so normalized for people to get on the internet and just say whatever they want to say. Y'all have no shame. And I just feel like back in the day, like, did we have too much shame back then? Yeah. Where our parents like never stood up for themselves and like let people walk all over them and taught you to do the same thing. Sure. But maybe we just take a little chapter out of their book and we practice some shame, and maybe we think before we act. Maybe we consider others and consider other people's actions and feelings before we like just do whatever. So I'm gonna say bring back shame 2023.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because I do think embarrassment and shame are different. I think maybe you can feel embarrassed because embarrassed you can let go. It's an emotion that comes and goes. But I think with shame, there can be a lot of like held on to that you can't release, and you can't forgive yourself a lot of time with shame.
I will push back on that and be like, okay, I know a couple people in my life, one of them might be sitting on this podcast with me, that will replay back embarrassing moments from the 5th grade.
Yes.
Over and over and over again. And I play back shameful moments.
I do too.
I think that both can be very deep rooted.
Well, I guess I only say it because a lot of people that struggle with depression and anxiety also struggle with crippling guilt. I'm someone that struggles a lot with guilt and shame. So like I will replay like a memory of like something that I may have done wrong in the 3rd grade, and I will still be like, oh my God, I can't believe I told Rebecca her haircut looked bad. And it will ruin my day. And like I can't stop thinking about it.
We need to do like Inside Out and really like define these things. We've brought up shame, embarrassment, and guilt. And I would argue that those are 3 completely different emotions.
And yet share something in common.
They're like in a Venn what is it? Not a Venn. Is it a Venn diagram or 3?
Yeah.
Like they overlap.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be our topic for a future episode.
Yeah.
Let us know if that's something you want us to discuss, because we're getting cut the hell off this week. But it'll be interesting to discuss. All this is to say, anytime that you experience embarrassment, I think it's important to forgive yourself and understand that you're only human, and you know, forgive yourself, walk away from it. Oh, that was embarrassing. Move on. And if you want to do something differently, then you can do something differently next time.
And to add to that, I was thinking about like, Simone, why don't you get embarrassed like super duper easily? And I know I hold this fact close to my heart. Human beings are the most selfish people on the face of the planet. No one cares about you. Like strangers in public. Ask me how many times I remember a stranger in public falling in front of me.
Yes.
Ask me how many times I remember, well, I do remember kids running with their backpacks jumping off their back, but that's just because that's a hilarious thing to think about. But yeah, no one cares but you. So as soon as I trip, I'm like, oh, I'm the only one that's going to remember this. Literally, Taylor is deep into her phone right now. Like, who cares?
That was the last statement on the article said that the researchers found that observers judged people much less harshly than the embarrassed people expressed. So guaranteed, however you feels a lot worse for you than it does
for everyone else. And once you realize that, you're free.
And like everyone's been there. Like think about when I see someone do something embarrassing, I like look away. I'm like, oh, I didn't see it, because I don't want you to feel embarrassed. Like whatever, let's move on.
Damn, what do I do? Do I look away or am I like,
Simone's like,
oh my gosh. Okay, this is the last thing. No, it's gonna be my scream. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it. It's gonna be my scream.
Okay, well great. That transitions us perfectly. It's a time for our reoccurring segment, Scream of the Week. Rawr! Okay, go for your scream, Simone. This is any moment this week that made us scream. Oh,
did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Is that upstairs?
Yes. I cannot stand my upstairs neighbors, y'all. I cannot stand my upstairs neighbors. Anyways, okay. My scream of the week. See, this is where I should have been minding my business.
Okay.
I should have been minding my business, but I had on a hat. And I was like on my phone. And I have so much sympathy for when kids act up in a store. Like, you can choose to be annoyed by it or you can choose to be entertained by it. And it's up that I choose to be entertained by a parent struggling to wrangle a child. But baby, I put my hat real deep down and I pretended to be on my phone. But in reality, I was looking at everything under the brim of my hat. And this grandmother was trying so hard to wrangle this bad. He was acting an ass out in public, showing his little ass, and she was like, stop getting out of line. This is a long, I'm in Joanne Fabrics, by the way, on a Saturday, so that's the type of life I live. And she's like, get back here and get in line before I call your father. He's like, no. And then he's like, he wants this banana. Like, little like stuffed banana. And she's like, you can't have the banana. And he's like, no, falls out on the floor. When I say I am underneath my breath, like, shout out to all the parents out there. Being a parent is so a lot. But please know that if it's someone like me that's watching your child act an ass over not getting the stuffed banana, I'm laughing along. I'm laughing.
Yeah, you're
I'm not
not
laughing
judging.
at you.
You're never judging. Parents' jobs are the hardest in the world.
I'm like, gosh, kids are such assholes.
If anyone out there is watching as a parent, good job. You're doing the best that you can possibly do, and you're doing a perfect job.
Yes, you are.
I bet you're doing a great job. Oh my God, I cry all the time because I get TikToks that say, good job, mom. And then I start sobbing. Have you ever seen those where like a mom's trying to do something and then someone will stitch it and be like, good job, mom. And I'm like, I bet so many moms need to hear that.
That's true. That is true. I should have told grandma. I should have been like, good job, grandma.
Okay, my scream of the week. Ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with caterpillars?
I am.
And
I've
you're
heard of
familiar with butterflies.
I've heard of them.
Did you know when a caterpillar goes into their cocoon, they then liquidify. They become a liquid before they become a butterfly. They become a caterpillar soup. They become an entire liquidy liquid before they become a butterfly. Isn't that wild? They don't just grow wings from a worm.
I thought that.
Of course you did. Why would we
What the
ever
heck?
know that they become a little liquidy soup and then they become a butterfly?
What the heck?
That's my scream of the week.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Wow.
scream of the week. Rah!
Comment down below if you knew that fact.
Yeah, comment down below if you
crazy.
knew that fact.
If we have more time, we can get into that like metaphorically and like on a deeper like metaphorical level.
Wow,
But
and like
whatever
it
the heck.
kind of like talks about like if you really want to transition from one thing to another, that maybe you have to
You
like,
might have to completely go
liquefy
through
yourself.
a complete metamorphosis.
Yeah, there's like another stage of like really being flexible
A
to
rebirth.
what's gonna come. A rebirth of sorts. Like maybe you start in this and then maybe you have to like
Completely not, you don't even recognize yourself.
yeah, like maybe hit rock bottom in a lot of ways. Like maybe like you never know when you're
never
going to
know.
become the butterfly. So if you
Period.
are not where you want to be, you might either be in your caterpillar phase or you might be in your soup phase.
And it might be right before your butterfly phase.
And it might be right before your butterfly.
And on that note, thank
Love
you
you
guys
guys so
so much
much.
for joining us on this episode of Swipe Talk, where opposites attract.
Yes. Follow us on our socials, on Instagram, YouTube, Patreon. We can review your dating profile over on our Cameo. Make sure to give us a 5 stars. Please, please, please.
On anywhere that you are listening or watching this. And if it's not 5 stars, what do we always say, friends? Write it in your diary. We don't want to hear it. Yay.
Love you guys so much. Hope you're having a great week.
Mwah. Bye, guys. See you next week.